Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean McCool. Today, we're going to be talking about, well, it's only a few days till Halloween. So what are we talking about, Sean?
We're going to talk about some spooky words, some words that cast spells, however you want to. Yes. Let's put the Thriller album on in the background while we're doing this. That'd be fun. What was his name? Vincent Price. The laugh at the end of Thriller.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Still one of the greatest all-time videos, I guess, back in music videos back in the day.
I remember when that came out, I think it was in 7th grade. And I remember one of the girls at our school, her dad was the principal, and we had a party in the school cafeteria for the launch of the Thriller video.
Oh, wow.
Like they rolled out the AV cart, with the big TV and
right.
Because the school had cable and almost nobody else did or something.
Yeah.
And we were able to watch the live release of the Thriller video.
Oh, that's cool.
We thought we were cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of neat actually. So yeah, so we're going to talk about words that cast spells. You found some stuff, and then it's kind of a random flight today. I've got some mail that I want to talk about that I've been saving. I got 3 different pieces of mail here to go over. Some lessons we can learn from that. One is just a rant that I'm going to rant about it, but the other's good lessons there.
Oh man, wow. Hit a button.
Wow. It's like, there's our intro music.
That's another intro.
Yeah, different intro.
Got to be careful with this keyboard. Keep everything away from those buttons.
Yes. All right. Well, what are you drinking over there in sunny Knoxville, Louisville?
So I have a maple pecan praline. Let's pull this up here. Maple pecan praline wake and bake from Terrapin Beer Company.
Wake and bake. That's like got THC in it.
It might. I don't know.
Sounds like it.
It is it's Imperial Stout double oatmeal. Has the aroma of maple and coffee that permeate the air, reminiscent of heavy New England breakfast. I'm sorry, heavy, not heavy, a hearty New England breakfast.
There you go.
The sweet candy-like pecan praline taste of the South dances gracefully in the background with all 3 flavors in perfect harmony. Our maple pecan, or pecan as we say in the South, pecan praline wake and bake is sure to be your go-to pastry stout.
Man, you had a French toast last week, right?
French toast. Now I got a little
pastry stout.
Praline pastry. 9.4%, 50 IBUs. So
okay.
We shall see. I forgot my glass today, but I do have we're going to be talking a little bit about incongruity today in some on our topic of magic words or words that cast spells. This is what I'm going to use to
drink your beer out of.
Talk about pattern interruption.
Yeah.
A little something to break up the
How many
pattern.
beers do you have today? 6. Just one can, but 6 glasses.
That's right. So there we go. Look at that.
It looks like an espresso.
It does. It really does. I like that.
That's cool. All right. Well, I've got beer number 3 of my Marty's Little Monsters 4-pack. This one is Battle Bats.
Battle Bats.
There's their mugshot on the backside. There's 2 of them.
Yep.
And this is a vanilla milkshake IPA.
Ooh.
8% alcohol. And there's no copy about what I should be expecting or anything like that. I guess vanilla milkshake. I don't know.
Battle Bats. Reminds me of Battle Bots back in the day. Oh, look at that, man. That's
definitely got the cloudy IPA look. So we'll see where the vanilla milkshake comes in. I don't know.
I think mine's going to beat yours by a long shot.
I do smell some vanilla in the top. So.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, let's cheers it up.
Cheers.
Been waiting all day.
I feel silly drinking out of an espresso cup. Ooh, that's good, man. I like that. Man, I think I got a winner. A winner.
What are the odds that you can pour that into that little cup 6 times without spilling it?
Probably pretty low. I expect some spillage onto the keyboard here.
Yeah, I would slide that keyboard a little forward.
But these Apple keyboards, though, they take some really abuse. Yeah. I mean, I've spilled a number of times. Now the keys do get a little sticky from time to time, but you just like wipe those down and you're good to go.
Yeah. We can always buy another one for like $600.
Exactly.
It's like my mouse today with the charger on the bottom, and
yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
I was dead in the water, like couldn't do anything for an hour while it charged.
That makes so much sense to put it on the very bottom.
Yeah, and you know how many committee meetings I had to make through, design meetings and everything, and everybody's like, "Yeah, that looks like a great spot to me." I mean, what could go wrong?
There's the one sales guy in the back that says, "Wait a minute, I got an idea. They'll need a backup mouse while they're charging that one, so they'll need to buy another one."
That's probably what sold them on the idea. Like, oh, that's a great idea. Yeah. So, yeah, I guess. Anyway, so how's your beer? Is good. It sounds like
it's fantastic.
All right.
This is really on the edge. I'm going back and forth, but I think it may. Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first because this is a difficult one.
So this is by far the best IPA I've ever had.
Oh wow!
So this is an IPA that I could actually drink and enjoy.
It's a double though, right? It's not just an IPA. It
actually doesn't say double. It just says vanilla milkshake IPA.
Okay.
But it is 8%. So I don't know. But it's good. You can tell it's got the IPA-ness to it. You know, it's got a little sharpness on the tongue and stuff like that, but you definitely get the sweetness of the vanilla milkshake. Not super sweet by any means, but it's not like drinking Pine Sol. It's definitely more like drinking. It's not a vanilla milkshake either, to be fair, but as far as IPA goes, for me personally, best IPA I've ever had. So I'm going to give this is probably the first IPA I'll give a 4 to. A 4, not a 4.2, a 4.
A 4. Okay, just to clarify.
Yes.
That
I don't want to go overboard. People think I like IPAs. Start sending me IPAs.
Man.
He's reaching for. Is he going to do the button? Is it
I'm a little biased against Terrapin. I knew not to give him any shade, but I once knew a chemist that worked there, and he said you don't want to know the working conditions behind a lot of these beer manufacturers or these brewmeisters.
You don't want to know working conditions of anything in food service. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, and so I'm trying not to let that affect me because I know that goes on everywhere. I'm sure that some contaminants get mixed in with the hops at times, but
a few rat tails. It is what it is.
This is amazing, though. I got to say, in Terrapin, these guys are based out of Athens, Georgia. That's going to help them a whole lot. So I'm giving them a 5-0, baby, on this one. This is good,
man.
One of the few fives that I don't think I've given a 5 this year. Maybe.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've had a solid 5 on there. Yeah. Let me see that can again.
Phew, man, this is so good because you can taste the coffee. That's one thing you would love about this, Sean. You can definitely taste the coffee in here.
I wonder if that's coming from the pecans and stuff too. Bringing that out.
Yeah.
So, man, all right. I'm gonna have to go look for that one.
Yes. So. Kudos to you at Terrapin Brewing Company.
Good job, Terrapin. Good job.
So, Athens, Georgia, home of them dogs.
I would expect their sales to at least double, having been getting a 5 on our podcast.
We expect a little kickback.
A little royalty would be nice
from you guys. I think this is the first 5 that Terrapin has been awarded on our show. So
Wow.
it's very good.
They should add that to their website. 5 pints on Persuasion by the pint.
I'm going to let them know.
Yeah.
Reach out to them and inform
gold
them.
medals from Beer Advocate. Who cares?
We do need to list on our page. I'll have to go back in.
Oh, man.
And that would take an extensive amount of research, which we're not going to do.
Yeah.
That won't happen.
We probably should have thought that through and made a list. But
from this point on, maybe. It probably won't happen, though.
No.
We can't even remember from week to week what we had the previous episode. So
no, I can't. So.
All right,
let's roll into let's cast some spells, man.
Let's cast some spells.
Let's find out what these magic words are and what other cliches can we say? Magic words.
So I'm strolling through the aisle.
What was it originally called? What was the book originally, or the title originally going to be? Something about the brain.
Oh, words that words that manipulate the brain.
Yeah.
And you come up as being the savvy, suave copywriter that you are, came up with a much better headline.
Cast spells.
Experienced. You were like the Walter White of copywriting, Sean.
Oh, wow. I'm going to put that on my LinkedIn bio.
You should. The Walter White, the master chemist of copywriting. Hey, there we go. I'm coming up with some stuff.
There you go.
So I'm walking down the aisle of, this was a couple of weeks ago, of my local Dollar General, picking up something. I don't know what I was getting. Probably just some stuff from my office. Huh? Probably picking up some of the essentials, toilet paper, paper towels, and things like that.
Oh, maybe you're looking for lumpy mail stuff.
Well, I have done that at the Dollar General. That's a great place to find lumpy mail stuff.
It is.
But I'm in the checkout aisle and I see this, caught my eye. The Art of Deception. It's one of those Sean's with words since. Oh, very good. I love that.
Yeah,
you have been, Sean.
That's
you got to tell. I need some secret pointers there, buddy, for sure. So the word. So I was obviously, there's a whole lot of stuff in this magazine on some of it's like dark psychology, mind manipulation, body language, the science of persuasion. So anytime you see stuff like this is like pattern interruption stuff. You see this stuff like, it's like right in the middle of a like People magazine or something like that. So so I picked up a copy and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to take that because it's probably got something that we can probably use on our show. And I went to this page on how do words manipulate the brain.
Okay.
So, Sean, I've got a little test for you here.
All right.
Okay? You've probably done this before. So I want you to give responses. I want you to give very quick, not a thought out response to the following. Okay. I want you to answer these in order with quick responses.
Oof.
What falls from the sky in winter?
Snow.
What color is a wedding dress?
White.
What do cows drink?
See, I was going to say milk. But I stopped.
But see, you stopped, right? You knew there was a catch coming on, right?
I was, But yeah, white. Yeah.
So you see where I'm going with this, right? I mean, that's how, your response, but you caught yourself. But 90% of the people out there would answer the question with milk.
But to prove the brain concept, like the first word that entered my brain was milk.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and why was that? Because you were primed, right? With the,
we were in the previous white. Yep. We were in the white file cabinet in my brain.
That's right.
So it was like, oh, it must be related to white because these two other things are related to white. So yeah, because our brain is always looking for patterns.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we are primed. And so it's a prime example of priming people. And you think about that in persuasion and, obviously in sales copy and everything that you do, always be thinking about that in ways that you are, priming the answer that you want, so to speak. But it says here, it's interesting. I underlined this. It says, about 90% of the people who are asked this question would obviously say milk. That's what cows drink because they're primed with the first two answers. And the reason, obviously, is the first two questions lead us to an association with the color white. When the brain catches the signal word cow, in the third question, we immediately go to milk, which is obviously white. Advertising makes very good use of these subconscious mechanisms, which can even trick our taste buds. Which of these would you rather drink? Tropical sensation or fireside warmth? Researchers at the University of Applied Studies and Research in Germany devised a test to assess people's preference. So what do you think between those two, Sean? What is the more appetizing beverage? Tropical sensation or fireside warmth?
I think it would depend on setting, but I'm going to say tropical sensation.
Yes, you would be correct. That
However,
was the winner. But I think it would be a lot of it would be primed on. I mean, it would depend on.
Yeah, if I was in the winter and I was drinking liquor,
yeah,
it sounds like a great whiskey name.
Or yeah, if you've just come
some
off
type
the
of
ski
whiskey
slopes.
based, some type of whiskey based drink, some type of some type of warm winter drink. So I do think context would matter, but if I just have the words to deal with, then definitely tropical sensation.
Yeah, and so it says the result: tropical sensation tasted more exotic, fruity, and refreshing than fireside warmth. So it really depends on the setting. Even though both of these teas were identical.
It's for a tea.
Yeah, it's for a tea. So yeah, I mean, to me, like I said, coming off the ski slopes in the wintertime, sitting next to a cozy fire. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
very, because both of those would indicate warmth in some way. But to me, tropical just comes across a little more like playful too. Like I didn't think warmth with tropical. To me, tropical was more exciting, interesting, fun, stuff like that. Whereas fireside warmth to me created this image of obviously fireside, slowing down, relaxing. So that's why I think it could work either way. But that is interesting. If you just do those two by themselves, I can see most people picking tropical sensation.
It says the combination of letters does not have to make sense. It just has to sound good and be patentable and easy to pronounce anywhere in the world. Product descriptions have rules of their own that are equally arbitrary. Various studies have shown that consumers think baked goods taste better if the package claims that they are made from grandma's recipe or that they are traditional. But all cookies in the studies were the exact same goods with two different kinds of packaging. So, I mean, product advertisers do this all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're constantly testing, but yeah, grandma's cookies compared to whatever other brand. I mean, everybody naturally thinks that the grandma's is probably better ingredients, right?
Yeah. I mean, Auntie Anne's is probably a lot more enjoyable than Uncle Louie.
Yeah.
You know, as far as pretzels go, right? It's like, I don't know, Uncle Louie handing out pretzels. That could be a little shady. I don't know. Is there a van parked out back as well?
Right.
Auntie Anne. I mean, how are you going to go wrong with that?
That's right.
So, yeah, that's interesting. So, yeah, literally like just a few quick words and you have put a spell on somebody's brain and get them to react the way you want them to react.
Yeah. And I always use they're prime words, and I have like an index of words when I write emails or sales letters to, my clientele and with the industry that I'm in. So I'm looking for obviously things like also, cost effective, cost savings. Those are things that obviously purchasing agents naturally gravitate to. You don't say cheaper. I never use the word cheaper or less expensive because I don't want to sell at a cheap. You don't want to commoditize yourself.
Right.
But I want to present cost saving strategies when I'm, obviously writing or, communicating with a buyer or a purchasing manager.
And you could say overall lower costs.
Yeah. Right.
Because cost is, I remember a sales manager one time told me, like there's price and then there's cost.
Exactly.
And they're not the same. Price is just the price of the unit.
Right.
Cost is everything around that, So this week we had to replace a battery in the Jeep. There's the cost of the battery, and then there's the price of the battery, and then there's the cost of downtime, driving to the store, getting a new battery,
right?
Like all the stuff that goes around it.
Yeah.
And the cost is always much higher, and sometimes as much or more than the price itself.
Right. Yep.
And that's the thing you want to focus on is cost, not price.
That's right.
And most purchasing agents, they do think like that. Then you have to. Now, your average consumer may not think like that. You would have to explain it. But when you do in a presentation, sales presentation at the kitchen table with your yellow legal pad and black Sharpie, it makes a lot of sense. So
sure it does. Yeah.
What are some other goodies in that little magazine? And let me see the cover again. I might have to see if I can go find that one too.
This is called The Art of Deception. This is from the, I thought this might be like one of these Time magazines, but it's not. It's just like all in and of it. I mean, there's no large magazine company that puts this out, it seems.
I'll have to see if I can find it. You found it at Dollar General?
At Dollar General. So, you never know what you'll find at Dollar General. So it's not necessarily, this doesn't necessarily mean that you'll find a copy at your Dollar General. They throw everything in there locally. How do you handle a hostage taker? This is interesting.
Okay.
So this talk about a,
well, from the classic movie Speed, you shoot the hostage.
Yeah, that's right. And we've talked about this with, the Chris Voss. He's got he does a lot of negotiation stuff. I'm trying to remember the title of his book that doesn't come to me off the top of my head. It's let's see, how to negotiate anything, something like that. But so this says, how do you handle a hostage taker? We were first introduced to Captain Kip Rustenberg, a crisis negotiator with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office in Phoenix, and discovered that she's a consummate professional when it comes to dealing with hostage takers. Her sworn duty is to thwart all of their demands and ensure each deadline passes without incident, because if a hostage taker gets away, more and more lives could be in danger. There are just 3 acceptable outcomes in a scenario when you have a hostage scenario. He gets killed during the course of the rescue attempt, or he kills himself. So as a negotiator, your task is to ensure that it ends in the first way, because studies have shown that the survival rate for anyone involved is about 97%. The former head of a FBI field office says, so let me get to the part where we're talking. So here it is, a top negotiator for the FBI. 2 people involved have to swap roles. A negotiator has to use certain words to paint the hostage taker as part of the solution rather than part of the problem. In practice, it could go simply like this. Here we go. Quote, Ricky, I want you to know that while the guy, and I remember Chris Voss talking about this, he's just a fantastic guy to go to on negotiation. I think he's got some master classes out there on negotiation. But he would say, Ricky, I want you to know that while the guy has not been shot, while the guy has not been shot, in a situation like this, anything can happen by accident. But the way you have taken control since then is great. So you're trying to make yourself part of you're working with him. No one else has been hurt. So you're trying to make the hostage taker part of the solution instead of being part of the problem.
Yeah.
So you have to, you're kind of commending him so far for the work that he's done, so to speak.
Instead of berating him and threatening.
Instead of saying, listen, here's what can happen if you continue to go down this path. This can be a huge problem. That's not the way. You want to work with him and say, so far things have gone well, Sean. No one's been hurt, and I just want to commend you, Sean, that so far
you're doing a great job.
you've handled this the way you in a very professional way.
If I ever take hostages, I'm going to have a copy of Chris's book with me.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, exactly.
Be like, hold on, let me get back to you. I got to study this chapter. Figure out where you're going next.
Let's see if we can arrive at a peaceful resolution so we can all get out of here safely. The most important rule, whatever we promise them, we have to stay true to our word and deliver on, says the author of this article, because if they think we're lying, we've lost our mightiest weapon, which is a spoken word. So I go through this, I think about this not in hostage negotiation, but in like price negotiations a lot of times with companies. And this is where things get very, very tense sometimes. And I've been in several of those situations recently, especially with when you're talking about price increases, which has been, the forefront and with most people lately, or most companies having to raise their prices, raw materials, raw goods going up. And then you have to have those uncomfortable discussions. And if it's a significant increase, those are typically done across the table from several people. And you have the unfortunate situation of being the one guy that presents the bad news. But I always tempest it. Like I always like try to explain to them, I'm on your team, right? And I'm going to do whatever we can to push back on these raw materials and see if there's other solutions. But I need you to work with me and help me in this. So let's see if we can work together as a solution. And then that's where I come in as an advisor, and we start looking at ways that we can, reduce their output, reduce their usage. How can we logistically structure their deliveries? Maybe they're taking too many deliveries in 1 week, and maybe we need to identify, maybe they're ordering too much at a time, Right. So I'm trying to come across and work with them as an advisor. But the last thing I'll ever do is, backtrack, that the price is non-negotiable. Let's see how we can help you and work together in this. So I try to make it like that. Like we're on a team, we're working towards a common goal.
Yeah. I can tell you, for having written, some pretty long sales letters, that if you have one phrase or one sentence buried on page 20, that counters a lot of what you just said in the previous 20 pages, where you kind of if they're on page 20, you've earned their trust. Like they're almost sold, if not already sold, right? They're now looking for reasons to change their mind if they're that far in, typically. So that if you say, even if it's not like a clear argument against what you just said, but it could be perceived that way.
Right.
You got to get rid of that stuff in your sales pages and webinars and presentations.
Yeah.
Because it just comes across like you said, you lose the trust. Everything you said is now questionable.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, you really have to look for that. And that's where sometimes it requires another person to read your stuff.
Yeah.
Because you think you explained it clearly. And you may not think that means anything. And somebody else will read it and be like, whoa, that's like that line kind of came out of nowhere.
Right.
I was editing some copy this week, and like their opening line and their next line just made no sense together. They felt like they were two totally different thoughts. I'm sure in the writer's mind, there was a connection.
Sure.
But they didn't write the connection. So it came across just really clunky and like, what's going on? And that's when, you close the email or whatever. So, so yeah, it's very important that you not counter what you've already said.
Right.
Accidentally. So you got to definitely read through and get somebody else to read through your stuff.
Yep.
So that was some pretty cool stuff. I like the priming of the words, and I definitely we'll have to go a little deeper on that on a future episode.
There's a lot of stuff in here. There's some dark stuff. I'm not going to get into that today, but
selection season.
Some of this is like, in here, how to recognize a sociopath. And how to deal with a sociopath, psychopaths, the history of psychopaths. And it's got everybody from, Hitler to Pol Pot to, Napoleon Bonaparte, and the biggest traders of the world, but like what drives these people? What makes these people? It's kind of fascinating. How do you get suspects to talk? How do you get it's really interesting to go through, but
definitely have to find a copy of that. Maybe I can find one on eBay or something.
Yeah, how body language turns your face into a traitor. Ooh, man. The average person touches his or her face about 40 times per hour. Coincidence? Not according to face reading expert Eric Standup. Every gesture has a hidden meaning. To decode it, we need only to take a closer look.
Oh, wow.
So how you're, what you do with your hands, how you blink your eyes, how you twitch your nose, all of those things give away clues.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
There are people that can read you like a book out there. That's what these.
Oh, man. Fortunately, not most people don't know. But I think we all know this on some subconscious level. Mm-hmm. That's where we get the gut feeling that something's not off, and I can't really put words to it, but I kind of feel that like this conversation with this person is not quite right.
Yeah.
We get that when we meet not just salespeople, but all kinds of people.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, trust in those things. Let's talk about some direct mail.
Oh, awesome. Let's do it. Let's get into some good stuff.
I got 3 pieces of mail that I just wanted to share real quick. So this won't take that long. But one of them was, we've been Sirius XM customers for a while in our cars.
Mm-hmm.
But lately, we just don't drive as much. We don't go, as many places. And the bill came up and we were like, really don't want to pay for that. It keeps getting more expensive. So we let it lapse. Right. And found a radio station. Did you know they still do commercials on radio stations?
No way.
I know, it's crazy, right? But we only listen to like 5 channels, and they want us to buy the whole package of stuff. And we're like, no, we're good. We'll just listen to the radio and a few commercials.
Sure.
So then, about 3 weeks after the cancellation, they did what any good company should be doing, and they tried to win us back.
Of course.
So they sent a letter in the mail.
You know what? I'm going to cancel mine so I can get one of those.
I know, right? So on the envelope, it said Sirius immediate action required, subscription information, right? So it looks like a bill or something.
Yeah.
And then on the front, it says, get our most popular plan for $5 a month, which, by the way, is like a third or more of what they usually charge. I think.
No, it's like $25 a month. Now it's like $30 a month, I think, right?
Yeah. So I think after the 12 months, it goes to $17.99 for the basic plan. That doesn't get into like a lot of the sports and things like that.
Okay.
Which we don't listen to anyway. But if you listen to sports, it's more like 30. So, but 12 months for $5. I was like, oh, well, I'd be willing to do that. I didn't want to pay the, whatever, but if I can pay $5 a month, I'll keep going. So we'll probably sign back up on the $5 a month plan.
Super smart on their part to do something like that.
Yeah, because we've been customers for years now with a couple different vehicles, and but it's like I said, Tamara's not selling real estate anymore, so she's not in her car all the time, like she was. I work from home. It's just there just wasn't much need. Sydney listens on her phone more than she listens to Sirius. So it's good. But the point is, if somebody cancels, it doesn't mean they're gone forever.
Of course not.
If you send them an offer to get them back, then you can usually retain that customer. And you really have, this letter probably cost them, 30 cents by bulk mail.
Did you cancel online? Did you go through the process online?
We just let it lapse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just let it lapse. So,
wait, they didn't keep dinging your card,
no, because we paid annually, and there's not a auto renew on annual.
Oh, okay, I got you.
But that is, it's interesting you say that, because that is part of this deal, is that you go on auto renew. So after 12 months, it goes back to $17.99 a month, but it's auto bill.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but we don't like doing auto bill on a lot of stuff. So we worry. But they got us. They got me thinking about it. We just haven't pulled the trigger, but it's a good offer. right?
That is a good offer and smart on their part. The reason I was asking is a lot of these companies, when you go, especially when you cancel online, they take you to a page where you give a reason why, and that's
Yeah.
helpful data for you as a company to know reasons why, and you
Yeah.
can is it just not a priority right now? Is it too much to your budget? So that gives them a lot of good feedback. So whenever I cancel a subscription to something, a lot of times, especially if it's online, they'll just take you to that and ask you a series of questions. What's the reason why you're no longer going to be? I think Audible does that, especially if you do that, because sometimes I'm back on Audible, but I've canceled before for a period of time because I get all these books that I wouldn't have time to read. I'm like, man, I got to take a break and catch up on some of this stuff.
Yeah.
And inevitably they're smart enough, and this is a good lesson. They're smart enough to say, what's the reason why? And if it's like, you don't have time right now, or if you just need a break, they'll say, well, we can do this. We can just put a pause on your subscription. You don't have to cancel at all. You can get a 3-month, 4-month break or whatever.
Right.
And then come back to it.
And that solves the problem, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's only temporarily, it does solve the problem. I mean, ClickFunnels does the same thing. When I was at Funnel Hacking Live, Russell mentioned that the amount of money they make they charge $9 a month to pause your account.
Sure.
And keep all your data in there, right? As opposed to just totally wiping it.
That's a brilliant on their part.
They make millions of dollars per year on dormant accounts.
I'm sure they do. And those aren't going away, because that's all that stuff, all that content, all that.
Yeah, it's all
stuff that they've worked so hard. They're not just going to let that go. I mean,
right. So, it's like, oh, I might need that someday. It's like, we're all paying for Dropbox storage, and we know what most of it's in there.
We forget, right?
Yeah. So, so another card I got that's interesting was, this is the envelope thing. We've talked about this several times, but here's a real life one that came in the mail a couple weeks ago. So check this out. This is the envelope.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So it's not like a number 10 envelope. So here's your, like, comparatively speaking, like, a number 10 envelope that came from Dish, or Sirius XM. So this is probably 3 inches shorter. So it's more like a stationary envelope. If you like an A4, I think,
which is attractive because it feels like a letter,
right? And it's got a real stamp. If you look, it's got a live stamp, handwritten address.
Is that real handwriting? Is that printed? I mean, that looks real.
It's real. You can feel the bumps in it.
Yeah.
So it's probably one of those machines, that does it. Yeah. So it feels real. I can even feel on the back side of the paper. So it's real. So I was like, there's no return address, no company name, nothing, right? Because a lot of times people will do all of this work on the front with the live stamp and the handwritten address, and then on the back flap it'll say ABC Company, or something like that, and it totally ruins it,
Yep.
So this had nothing on it, and I was like, "Who is sending me a letter? Like, that's so sweet. Like, who's sending me a letter?" And then I open it up, and it is, and I've talked about these guys before. It is Renewal by Anderson, the window people.
Oh, yes.
And on their stationery, they've written me a nice little note that says, "Hello there. Wow, it seems like temperatures and energy costs are extreme these days.
Yeah.
Keeping those you love comfy inside your home is costing more than ever. And your old windows and doors are causing you to overspend. In October, we're offering our biggest BOGO ever. Before October 31st, buy one window or door and get the second 50% off. And with special financials, you'll pay nothing for a year. If you'd like to work with us, if you'd like us to work up a price, please give us a call. You'll be happy you did. Phone number, signature. We've got loads of 5-star reviews on Google. Find out why."
Yeah.
And then there's a coupon, kind of ride along coupon.
Sure.
It's also signed.
That's great. That's
a website to go to, 50%offwindows.com. So that you can, I didn't go there, so I don't know what it is. We're renting the house, so this doesn't actually apply to me. Yeah. But these guys, every single week, I get some new type of marketing from them. So it must be working, because they're sending out a ton of mail every week.
If it weren't working, they wouldn't keep doing it. So it's got to be.
Yeah. So that was a really good example of like disguising a letter. They're usually in like the newspaper flyer, like the grocery store flyers on
Right.
Wednesday. They usually have a ride along in there, but this was the first time I've actually gotten an envelope from them.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was kind of cool.
That
And
is
then the
cool.
last thing, I just got a rant.
Okay.
I'm a little
Rant time.
I'm a little upset on this last piece of mail I got.
Uh-oh.
It really kind of hurt actually.
Oh, wow.
And it's it was addressed to me. Like I can't say it was for Tamara because it's got my name on it. So it says there's a really pretty brochure. So here's the brochure.
Yeah.
Looks like a nice house, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
The area's newest, most innovative senior living community. Now
is that AARP again?
I know, it's like now is the time to choose assisted living. I was like,
Golly, what? Are you kidding me?
And then so I opened it up and I'm like, wow, that is kind of nice. Like these are some nice apartments.
That is
here.
pleasant.
Yeah, and it's like the community, is it in the last page is like, is it time to consider assisted living? Wow. I tried to make myself feel better. Like, well, maybe they're sending this to me because they think my parents need this. You know, maybe that's why I'm on the list.
Right.
So I don't know if this is an example of good marketing or bad marketing. Like, did they really scrub their list very well if I'm getting this? Or is
yeah.
And if it was intended more for my parents, like it should have said something like that on here. Like, you know, are you getting stressed about what to do with your parents, you know, as they age, or who's going to help take care of your parents as they age, or something like that? That would have been, to me, it feels a little more appropriate. Yeah, it's just like, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I
51. I feel like I'm getting this a little too early.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of money. I mean, this is a 4-page full color brochure. This was probably not cheap to send out, and I can't believe.
Yeah, I don't think they filtered that list.
Yeah, I don't think my whole street here is ready for this. Like most of my street is probably about my age. There's some that are older for sure, but so if they just kind of did it geography, you know, from a geography standpoint. So I don't know if I'm on a list or what, but yeah, that kind of hurt. You know, so be careful when you send out mail. If you don't have your list targeting right, you could probably offend somebody forever.
To their credit, though, let me say that today's 50-year-old, it's a different. I think there's a different mindset than yesteryear's 50-year-old. You know,
well, they should keep up with the time. Although I have to say, like, I was looking at the apartment, I was like, huh, I wonder how much it cost.
Exactly.
No yard to mow, built-in you know, got breakfast made for you every day.
Sure. Yeah.
They got like
that's kind of nice.
They've got a state-of-the-art fitness center. They've got a
listen, you know, you and I were getting
a day spa. I mean,
you were getting AARP stuff back in your 40s, right? I mean, I remember.
I think I started getting them last year. Maybe 2 years ago. Yeah.
I got my first mailing 3 years ago, and I'm 40. Let's see, I'm in my late 40s. So,
well, I know they are intentionally starting earlier. Like their whole campaign strategy right now is get ready for retirement instead of in retirement. So they're really trying to lower their age and capture people sooner, which is smart, right? Because if you can get people in, but there's not many other AARP type organizations out there, so I don't know why you need to get in much earlier, but because they want you buying, you know, they want you already locked and loaded. So when you start turning 65, and you have to buy Medicare, and you have to do all these other things that they license they want their name to,
primed and ready.
Yes, exactly. Back to priming.
Yep.
Exactly. But it is a little, it's a tough line to walk, because it can be a little offensive to people who don't feel like they're old enough to get that stuff.
Right.
So I don't know if they need to be more direct about that and be like, hey, we know you think you're not ready, but let me show you 5 reasons why AARP could be a good step before retirement.
Or you may think you may think it's too early to consider this, but let me explain. Yeah, that would help.
I think that would be definitely a lot better. And then you could show the benefits of why, getting early is beneficial. So
right, because
those,
that line would work for a pretty broad range. If you said you may think you're too early, because I mean that might work when you're in your 60s
yeah,
and don't want to face reality of the possibilities of
well, especially with a lot more people working freelance and
right.
independent
Sure.
contractor roles, like they're not retiring at 65, right? They're gonna
Yeah.
keep working.
Yep.
So definitely, let's see what one of our viewers has to say. Christopher Lee says this would be a great show if we could just skip all the juvenile chit chat about beer and get to the point. Well, that ain't gonna happen,
This is
Christopher.
part of the show, man. I'm sorry. You are welcome to skip
Juvenile
ahead.
chit chat about beer. Wow. Shots fired. Pour me another one.
Okay, so we
Let's
get the
talk about
point, Chris. Not everybody loves beer, but we do, and it's our show. So,
yeah.
um,
Start your own show without the beer. That's fine. We don't care.
I do have to say though,
But thank you for commenting, Christopher. We always like comments.
and we do acknowledge we do sometimes go long on the beer reviews, but that's just part of what we do, man. We say we have a beer show that's where we also talk about marketing, right?
Yeah.
Even though we're not beer experts, we just drink it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So I've got one thing on marketing, and this is a great example. We've talked about this before on how to, speaking of ads that you heard on the radio earlier, Sean.
Yeah.
Traditional, this is like terrestrial radio I'm listening to this week. So I listen to XM radio, but I also occasionally tune into the local. I like to kind of hear local radio just because I love to hear local ads.
Yeah.
And see. And I heard a very good advertisement this week, and it goes back to the whole thing that we've talked about in previous shows, creating problems. So, sometimes you need to look at different, stop doing what all your competition's doing within the market, the same space that you're in. So I heard a great example of a company that does water treatment this week. They mentioned nothing about clean water. They talked about kidney stones.
So which company was it? I'm curious. I know somebody in the business, so I'm curious if it was them.
Aqua Clear, I think.
Yes.
Aqua Clear.
It's David Brewster. I know David.
Yes, David Brewster, Aqua Clear. Yes. Yeah. So the whole thing was just describing the painful experience of having kidney stones. And really, he painted a pic. I've never had kidney stones, but I've talked to so many people in the past who have experienced kidney stones, and trust me, just from the feedback, anybody that I've ever talked to, I never want to have those things because they're the most painful things you can imagine.
Sounds like it. Yes.
But this ad, they did a brilliant job of just painting, the painful experience of what it's like to have a kidney stone.
So I'm curious, like, what was the hook for that? Like, you're driving along in your car. What did you hear first that caught your attention? Because you're not even a kidney stone sufferer, and it still caught your attention.
It did, but I think it caught my attention more from it was pattern interruption more than anything, because you don't hear that from a water treatment company or a water filtration company that, does what, I guess that's what they do, right? Water filtration.
Yeah, they do the in-home water systems.
Yeah. So, they're always doing the same thing, which is cleaner water, eliminate the hard water in your, what it's like to have hard water, especially if you take a shower, your hair feels really weird when you have hard water and you don't want to drink that stuff. But I've never heard them talk about, what are the ramifications of hard water, which is, I guess you get kidney stones, or I don't know if it's hard water, but mineral deposits in the water can lead to kidney stones over time if you're constantly consuming that. But they didn't talk anything about that possibility. They didn't even link that. They just went into talking about kidney stones. So it was kind of a pattern interruption right there, because it drew me to it, and I forget how it started, but just the whole, if I can find the recording, I will play it on an upcoming episode just to hear, because I thought they did a fantastic job. But it goes back to my, our discussion of look for problems that are outside of what you're traditionally doing. What could this lead to, and create problems? Like we talked about, how, Listerine, what was it? It was never used. It was never invented as a means to eliminate bad breath, right? So that was like a lot of feedback came from the market segment, or they realized, this could be beneficial for bad breath.
Yeah.
And then they used that, and that opened up the whole new opportunity and a whole new marketplace for them. So look for opportunities, ways that you can create opportunities. I mean, and obviously they preface the ad with saying, we can't make medical claims or anything like that,
Right.
So they made sure to cover their bases. On their radio spot is like, we're not medical experts and blah, blah, blah. But they simply painted the picture of what it's like to have a kidney stone.
Yeah. And that same idea could be taken, and it also makes the problem more urgent, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Because, having cleaner, softer waters, like nobody really knows what that means
Right.
until you experience it. But it doesn't seem like it's a real problem in your life, right? I mean,
Sure.
maybe you
Yeah.
get some soap scum on your stuff, or like it's just, but, I don't want a sales guy coming out, blah, blah, blah. But you're telling me I can prevent kidney stones. And if I've had those, I'm like, oh, yeah, let me talk to somebody today, So it definitely changes the urgency by going that direction. You could do the same thing with like, for women, like as they age, hair falls out. And one of the things is the chlorine in the water and things like that.
Right.
So that's another health type issue they could go towards. So yeah, that's really smart. It's interesting. One of my first ever copy projects was for David. At
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I'll have to
he does a lot of radio spots. So
yeah, no, he's doing really well. He's been doing this for about,
and he's got a nice little jingle too. I mean, that's another that's another good marketing tip, is like he has I forget, like Aqua, I can almost like hum it. I can hear it in the back of my mind playing, their little jingle. I can't remember it word for word, but I can hear their jingle going on in my mind. And that's another thing, because it's memorable. He always finds ways to make it memorable. And that was like, again, I've never had kidney stones. To me, that was pattern interruption.
Yeah.
But I could only imagine. I was thinking through that ad. If I knew someone, I do know someone, but if I had ever experienced kidney stones previously and I heard that ad, it would definitely capture my attention to,
for sure.
If I wasn't treating the water that I had, I would certainly be in the process of doing that right away, because I would want to go through that again.
Yeah. I'll see if I can dig up the old ad I did. We did this was back in 2008, probably. And one of the neighborhoods, Tellico Village out there, was having all kinds of problems with like getting pinholes in their copper pipes because of the stuff that's in the water.
Sure.
So we did this whole ad that we stuffed in mailboxes, like a front page, back and back, and I wrote it to look like a homemade community newsletter,
right?
Like water news or something like that.
Sure.
Because it was a big topic and this community has like 3,000 residents. It's a retirement community. And they were all complaining about it, right? It was just the thing going on in the area at that time. So we tapped into the current news. We made it look homemade, and we read like an interview with David.
Yep.
And he talked about how hard water deposits are causing this. And if you get a filtration system, it'll take care of it in the future and all that. Yeah. He got more calls and more appointments off that than anything he had done in a long time.
Awesome.
So that was pretty cool. And again, because it was kind of like this, this letter, it slipped through the, the wall that people put up with sales stuff. And it looked like by the time you got through, you just realized it was a sales letter, not a community newsletter. So
right.
Then you're already in, and you're like,
it's too late. Yeah. You have been mesmerized.
Like the spell has been cast at that point. Too late. So
you have been charmed. All right. Good stuff.
Well, I'm sorry we disappointed Christopher with our beer talk, but I think that was a pretty good show overall.
Yeah. Chris, just skip ahead. Always skip to about 10 minutes ahead in the show, and you'll
8 to 10 minutes, you'll probably be about fine. You'll be just in time for the ratings. So listen to the first minute to get the teaser, and then if you want to skip the beer talk, skip the beer talk. We don't care. We're gonna sleep just fine whether you listen to beer talk or not. So.
Well, let's wrap up. I do want to hit next week, if we'd have time, and we'll see what's on our agenda for next week. We may have a guest too, but I want to revisit. I was going back through one of the old books that we have gone through in the past, and I think it's a book that when we first started this show like 5 years ago. That sounds like forever ago, Sean. Um, Blair Warren's Forbidden
Oh wow, yeah.
Keys to Persuasion.
Okay.
There are some things that I was going through that book this week, and man, there's some things on that I really want to revisit on an upcoming episode. I think next week, and again, if we have a guest, we might do a 2-show episode or something like that. But
Yeah.
I'll send you some stuff from the book that really jumped out to me that we can hone in on. I know from our comments on our show, a lot of the past comments that we've had were related to this book alone. And
Yeah,
a lot of
great.
people have bought this book because we talked about it.
Yep.
So it's a fantastic book. I mean, I got to give obviously credit to Blair Warren. He did a fantastic job, and he doesn't promote a lot. I mean, it's like he's kind of under the radar,
Yeah.
but it's got
that'll be fun. Yeah. We'll revisit that. I mean, that's like episodes the first 20 episodes, wasn't it?
Exactly.
Somewhere in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. Majority of our comments come off of that, the book, the series that we did on that book. So
I guess we peaked early. Oh well.
Yes, we did. Now people just turn in, except for Chris, they tune into our beer reviews. So
yes.
But yeah, that's a wrap. Sean, you got anything else, man?
I don't. Just the old here's I don't know if Christopher likes this or not, but let's end with our football chat because it is October. So
what is that old? Remember that old publication, Sean? And we're dating ourselves because I mentioned this. Leonard's Losers. Do you remember that?
Oh man, I have not thought about that in a long time. That was like a radio segment too.
It was.
Yes.
It was a little. It was a print
Leonard's
publication.
Losers.
They did a radio segment too, and it was very popular.
Yeah.
And as I recall, it was a little local. I mean, it wasn't. I don't know. I don't think it was national. It was kind of a regional type show, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember it in Georgia for sure. So
yeah.
Leonard's Losers. And he's like, it's basically
some good copywriting lessons just from that alone, because he would use, he always described the two teams playing from their mascots, the chickens from South Carolina, or the fighting chickens from South Carolina. He'd always use vivid descriptions with the mascots come to visit those, those hungry dogs from Georgia or something like that. But I wish maybe we could find some of that old stuff. That'd be good for a copy segment.
Oh, dude, let's see. There it is. They got a website.
Are they still around?
Raise your pigskin IQ. Leonard's Losers. Football prognostications. Get your weekly load of smart pills here.
Leonard I'm sure Leonard is been put out to pasture, but they've got another replacement for him.
Yeah. I don't know. It may still be alive. I don't know if he's doing it, but it says in 2018, he acquired the trademark for the show and is currently working to build a larger base of radio affiliates in an effort to revive the Leonard Losers brand.
Wow.
Or maybe somebody else bought it.
So he would always say who was the loser. That was his kind of thing, that the loser would be this, instead of always predicting the winner. That was kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's just a good pattern interrupt, right?
That's right. Different.
Yeah, he's got live picks for 2022. Here's
wow.
Leonard's Losers, week 9.
Yeah, I remember listening to him that on the radio back. I mean, that was like back in the 80s.
Yeah, that's a throwback right there. Now I got to go listen to his Losers for week 9.
That's right. And you know what? That's going to draw us back, because what is it? Nostalgia playing the part, the power of marketing there. Nostalgia is so powerful.
You talk about hooks and angles and all those kind of things. And, he's doing the same thing every other sports personality is doing.
Yeah.
But he flipped it. And like you said, talked about the losers instead of the winners.
That's right. That's exactly.
But he's saying the exact same stuff. Yes. He's just ending with who's going to lose.
Who's going to lose? Right. So
that's brilliant. Like sometimes in your niche, that could be all you need to do to differentiate yourself is just talk about the same thing, but from the opposite point of view.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's good stuff. Now I'm going to go binge on Leonard's Losers.
I know. Well, I didn't even know they were still around. So now
I didn't either.
me.
I've forgotten all about them. Part of my childhood has been restored. Thank you.
Okay. So quick recap of this Saturday is, Sean and I are degenerate college football fans. So we love to root for our dogs from Georgia.
Yep.
And we think they will just trash those pesky Gators down in the swamps of Florida.
Yeah.
By 3 touchdowns.
Previously known as the world's largest cocktail party.
That's right. This will be exactly. Jacksonville, which is the world's largest cocktail, but they're not allowed to say that anymore.
Yeah. It's not on CBS.
Exactly. We can still say it.
That's right. So, but now all stadiums are open to alcohol, right? So it doesn't.
That's right.
It kind of loses its meaning now.
But I tell you, the alcohol flows very freely in Jacksonville when those two teams meet. So
every hotel's booked. It's a big deal for sure. So
yeah.
All right. Hey, maybe the Volunteers will pull off another one.
Which would lead to one of the biggest games coming up next Saturday in Athens. So we shall see. Yeah. So we're pissing off a lot of people today.
I know.
Talking football and beer.
They can start their own podcast. Just send me a link. I'll see if I like yours.
Absolutely. And with that said, thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week. You can find us at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms. That is Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, you name it, we're there. And you can also reach out to us if you have questions or comments at persuasionbythepint@gmail.com. And also you can find our Facebook group over at Persuasion by the Pint. Just do a quick search for Persuasion by the Pint on Facebook. You'll find us there. Sean, it's been fun, man. We will see you all next week.
See ya.
All right.